Hi, my name is Dry Coast. I'm part of the Dry Cereal Studio, which has just partnered with Build a Rocket Boy, the studio behind the exciting project called Everywhere. I've had the privilege of working within Everywhere for several months and have picked up some useful workflows for creating assets in the world of Everywhere with a process called Kitbashing. Kitbashing is the process of taking existing assets created by Build a Rocket Boy and mixing and matching them to reimagine entirely new assets. It's a great way to exercise your creativity and make the most out of the platform's capabilities. Here's a recent kitbashing project I completed in Everywhere. I wanted to offer a unique way to provide health cubes to players. Instead of spawning them directly on the ground, I decided to make it interactive by providing health cubes through a vending machine. This vending machine was assembled using a variety of assets from Build a Rocket Boy, allowing me to design a unique version that fits my vision. I plan to make this item a stamp so that anybody can add this to their game if they wanted. In this video, I'm going to be kitbashing a weapon dispenser, incorporating many of the same pieces from our vending machine. This approach allows us to maintain a unified style while allowing the dispenser to be designed for its specific purpose. The first step in my process is to gather images of similar items. This helps me visualize the final piece and ensures that I capture the essential components. I recommend using the web search engine of your choice, or examining real photos to get a clear idea of how items typically look. This isn't about replicating these exact items, but rather using them as a guide. My next step is to set up your art palette. This involves scanning through the available assets and picking out anything that matches the vision of your creation. Don't hesitate to include any interesting pieces that catch your eye or seem fun to work with. The idea is to consider the individual components that make up a vending machine, such as the walls, shelves, buttons, rods, glass, and other essential parts of a fully functional unit. The items that you select here don't have to be perfect, they just need to be accessible and ready for your design. Retrieving assets from your art palette is more efficient than returning to the library each time. It's important to find items that generally look like they belong together. In this case, I'm finding a lot of items that are either dark or gray or sort of give off that space appearance that I'm looking for. We're probably only going to use a fraction of these assets that we're collecting, but it's nice to have options available. Before diving into the details, I start by identifying the piece that will be the largest or most prominent in my build. For this example, I chose this wall piece that I plan to use for the sides and back of my vending machine. Here, I'm using the rotate widget by pressing the number 2 key, and while holding down Alt, I rotate the asset. This allows me to create a duplicate of the asset in a new orientation, so I can easily create the sides and top. By clicking on this asset and holding down the Control key, I can then select multiple assets. Then, by holding down Alt and moving them upwards, I'm able to duplicate both of them at the same time. This process will save you a lot of time. If you haven't watched the Arcadia beta demo, I would recommend going through that and just making note of all the hotkeys that are mentioned. You'll learn a lot and it'll make your work a lot more efficient. Secondary components are parts of the build that I assemble in advance, knowing that I might use them in some way. It's easier to build these elements like pipes, gears, switches, edges, corners, standalone before incorporating them into the much larger build. I complete them as a set and I set them aside until I find a use for them. These components are reusable, allowing for flexibility in design. Whenever I come across pieces that stand out when put together, I like to keep them on hand for inspiration and find a use for them later on. Once you're satisfied with your palette collection and pre-assembled secondary components, you're ready to start assembling your build. This is the moment to let your creativity take over and begin kitbashing these elements together. Always examine each piece carefully and consider the multiple hidden uses it may have. For instance, a column might be reimagined as a battery, or an old wheel could be transformed into a control dial. The only right way to proceed from here is to follow your own imagination. Keep in mind, this is a lengthy process, so I'll be showing a time-lapse of my assembly to give you an idea of how it all comes together. As you'll notice in this time-lapse, I change direction several times based on what I'm observing. I ended up not liking the original base I placed here, so I decided to delete it and revisit it later. Here I'm considering creating a type of wing door by stacking multiple pieces on top of each other. After you've completed your project, consider making it a stamp so that both you and the community can use it in future games. During the building process, I ultimately changed directions based on where my imagination led me, and I created more of a weapons locker than a dispenser, but I was very happy with the result. With a bit of logic and atmosphere, I was able to create this scene to showcase both of the stamps together. Thanks for watching, and happy kitbashing.
Time for a new world. Let's build it together.